So much to talk about with the Twins here on our Chin Music Show, our baseball show at talknorth.com. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios. Want to remind you, if you like the show, please subscribe to your favorite podcast app. It's free. It's the easiest way to listen. Thanks to Aquarius Home Services, Minnesota Masonic Charities, and True Vision Institute. Thanks to all of our sponsors who have helped us grow. Today's lineup: LaVelle E. Neal III, baseball guru and columnist from the Star Tribune. I'm Jim Souhan from the Star Tribune. And let's start here, LaVelle. Carlos Correa Tuesday night basically said, without saying it, hey, all these people got to take care of themselves. In other words, some of these people need to figure out how to grind through a long season. Did you think that was just a direct shot at the young players who have faltered?
Carlos is too calculated for that not to be intended to deliver some sort of message. That's my take. Because at this stage of the season, there's already been conversations going on, privately, maybe man to man, or sometimes the players having a meeting where things are discussed, where these things could be addressed. It doesn't always have to be, a lot of time, most of the time it's not through the media. Once it gets through the media, that means a couple of other methods have been used and have not worked. So I totally think that Carlos meant to say what he said. And I saw Royce Lewis's response about, it was hard to hear, but, sometimes young players don't know how much work it takes in order to be good. And sometimes they are told things they don't want to hear. But at this time of year, when the team is trying to get back into the wild card spot, it's all hands on deck and everybody has to be fully invested. And I just think that Carlos, who's been on a lot of winning teams and has won a World Series, he knows what being invested looks like. And I think he was trying to articulate that to the media after Tuesday's game.
So we're talking here on Thursday morning. By the time you hear this, the Twins could have already been eliminated. They're heading into a difficult weekend, even if they survive Thursday's scenarios. Let's go ahead and start talking about why this team is in this predicament. You can blame ownership for not spending more. You can blame Falvey for not bolstering the roster more, although I'm not sure how much more he could have done with this payroll. You can always blame the manager. I always remind people that people used to criticize Tom Kelly all the time, even when he was winning World Series. So I tend to not pay much attention to that. Or you could blame the players not performing, especially in the last, month to 6 weeks. Where do you think the real blame lies?
That's a good question, Jim. And I agree with you. The great thing about covering baseball is that it allows you to see this wonderful country. And it allows you to listen to sports talk stations across the country. And the stuff that Twins fans, believe it or not, the stuff that Twins fans complain about is the same stuff I've heard in New York about Yankee managers, in Tampa Bay when Joe Maddon was there, out in California when Mike Scioscia was managing the Angels. The same stuff is being complained about. Pitching moves, line of construction. I hear that. I hear it coast to coast. You are not alone, Twins fans. That said, in this day and age, everybody, I know the corporate lexicon has drifted into sports, and it drives me up the wall sometimes. But these organizations throw around the word collaborative. They talk about how they have more of a horizontal leadership structure, and everybody has a chance to impact the direction that the organization is taking. So if we follow along those lines, then this is going to have to be a collaborative discussion about how many people screwed this one up to put the Twins in the situation that they're in. Yes, ownership decision to cut back on payroll was damning coming off the year in which they finally won the postseason game. I think that put Derek Falvey in a tough spot, but at the same time, you should be able to trade for good relievers at the deadline. I don't want to call them spare parts necessarily, but they are parts, and there usually doesn't take a lot to trade for a reliever. Falvey failed to do that, and the one guy he actually brought in didn't last a month. Meanwhile, other teams in baseball were able to trade for relief help. So I put that part on Falvey. Rocco, his game management, that one gets murky. You can blame the times he's taken Bailey Ober out for backfiring him. You could blame him for sending up Manuel Margot all the time as a pinch hitter against lefties. But there's also a research and development department now, and he's got stats in front of him, and he's talking to Falvey and other people in the department, informing these opinions about how games should be managed. So all this needs to be addressed, and the players. And Correa pointed out there are a lot of developing players in this roster. You think Buxton and Correa and Max Kepler, being the veteran guys, and Carlos Santana. It's just some guys still trying to establish themselves on a major league level. And maybe they need to hear how they need to get better. So usually a problem like this has several issues, and I think I just talked about 4 of them.
Yeah. And I would put, for me, like when we talk about the trading deadline, I think I just look at it differently than most people. San Diego had to trade away like the 2nd, 4th, and 5th best prospects in the organization to get the best left-handed reliever on the market. The price was ridiculously high for somebody who might only pitch 20 innings for your organization. And hey, the Tigers have surged even though they traded away pitching. And so I said at the deadline, I'll say it again now, how your best players perform is more important than who you get at the trading deadline. What I will say about this offseason was, so Falvey trades Polanco for 2 arms, one of whom is supposed to be his 5th starter. Well, if you were willing to spend money on a free agent starter, then you would have had 5 veteran starters to start the year. You would have gotten innings out of your 5th starter, and that would have helped save the bullpen. And if you had done that, then you, instead of having Varland as a starting pitching option, you probably would have put Varland in the bullpen. That would have improved. So with that one move, if you'd gone out and signed a veteran free agent starter and spent the money on that, that would have improved the rotation. It would have improved the bullpen and the bullpen depth because Varland can be an exceptional reliever. It would have saved wear and tear on other bullpen arms. And I think they'd be in the playoffs.
Totally agree. Falvey's got to stop trading for injured pitchers.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's true. But that's the problem when you can't, and I don't know what to do about that. Especially at the deadline, you can't send your doctor to the other team to go check out the pitcher. There has to be some faith.
True.
But, so I don't know if in the other cases whether he's had just bad luck or there's something bad wrong with the process.
Well, it's just unfortunate because Polanco was their one bullet to fire this offseason.
Yep.
Now I don't know what other teams were interested in Polanco at the time. It would be interesting to figure out or discover who those teams were and what deals are being talked about. But the Twins thought DeSclafani was going to be able to fill in the back end of the rotation, and no one knew Topa was going to break down like he did. He just pitched for the first time all year.
I know.
Wednesday.
He's really good.
Yeah. His velocity was down 3 miles an hour across the board. He threw a boatload of changeups, but he was effective. I ran into the clubhouse because I was outside the hallway on Tuesday, and someone said Justin Topa's talking. And I ran over there just to see what he looked like. I didn't see him in spring training. I didn't know what Justin Topa looked like. I said, I just want to see what this guy looks like. So he had the knee problem, and then later on an arm issue. And now he's back. He's going to try to pitch the last few games of the season. But yeah, that Polanco move was a kick in the gut to the Twins, just because they've got 1 inning pitched out of 2 guys. I know they got a prospect they like thrown in the back end, but they needed guys to help the cause with the rotation and the bullpen, and it was a swing and a miss.
It was, and I think it affected everything that happened the rest of the season. And it's one of the reasons this team looks so dog-tired right now. What do you think about the young hitters? Because I think, I love Royce Lewis, and he's gone through the worst slump of his life. Brooks Lee, and I think Royce will learn from this. There's so much good stuff there. I think it'll make him better, and he'll know how to get through a long season. Brooks Lee, I'm a little worried about. We went from thinking of him as this, great top prospect who could really transform the lineup. And my concern is when he seems to really get his pitch and hit it, it doesn't look the way it looks when Buxton or Correa or Wallner hits it. It's not a rocket. It's just kind of a soft looping fly ball or line drive. I just wonder if he needs to change his approach to be more explosive.
I mean, that's a fair question. I'm wondering if he's 100% healthy. Remember, he landed on the injury list because of his shoulder problem, and came back, I believe, in late August or early September. But yeah, I mean, I had not seen the league the Brooks Lee hard contact until Wednesday night's game when you hit the double, late in the game.
Yeah, it was a good swing.
It was a good swing, and the ball jumped off his bat. So it's still in there, but I wonder if he's at full strength right now. Maybe he came back to try to give what he could with his shoulder the way it is. He'll be one of those guys to watch and see if there's got to be some sort of surgery issue following the regular season. But yeah, it's too much talent there, and he's looked too good in the minors, and he made an adjustment to hit left-handers better, I want to say. So I'm not ready to give up on him. But like I said, there's still some development going on, Jim. It's hard to win and develop young kids at the same time on the major league level. Jose Miranda has reverted back to some of the stuff that got him in trouble 2 years ago. He's getting himself out right now. You could pitch to Royce Lewis right now because he's chasing. He's falling behind 0-2, and then he's chasing even worse stuff. Julian has not looked the same guy that he was a year ago. He was still taking too many called strike threes. It looks like he's overcorrected that now. Now he's gone on the other side and maybe needs to be a little more patient at times. So he is still trying to find that sweet spot when it comes to pitch recognition and when to be aggressive and what counts. So we're watching these guys go through the growing pains, right when the Twins are at the most vulnerable that they've been all year, on the outside of the wild card race, looking in with 4 games to play.
And there's somebody else I want to bring up who's really struggling. First, want to let you know we're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studios. We want to thank Aquarius Home Services.
Yes, fall is in full swing, and Old Man Winter will be visiting soon. Scott for Aquarius Home Services. Now is the time to make sure your furnace is ready for the winter ahead. And to help you prepare, Aquarius is offering a Furnace Peak Performance Check for just $29. Don't let Old Man Winter catch you by surprise. Schedule your Furnace Peak Performance Check today at AquariusHomeservices.com. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended.
Minnesota companies doing great work locally. Minnesota Masonic Charities.
When people think of the Freemasons, they often think of secret handshakes and unusual hats, and of course, the pancake breakfast. Minnesota Masonic Charities would prefer that you think about the work that they do right here in our community. Places like the Masonic Cancer Center at the University of Minnesota or the Masonic Children's Hospital and the Masonic Home in Bloomington. They are just a few examples of the important work that the Freemasons support here in Minnesota. As part of the largest fraternal organization in the world, Masons have consistently answered the call when it comes to charitable needs. We look forward to learning so much more about their many programs here in the weeks to come.
And we'd like you to know more about John Krasinski's experience with True Vision Institute.
Yeah, I'm a brand new man, Jim, this week. If for listeners of the John Krasinski show over the last month or more, I've been telling you all about True Vision Institute in Bloomington. And we've been talking a lot about the help that they gave me in the consultation to figure out how to correct my vision once and for all, and all the process of going through it. Well, finally, last week, I was able to go in and have LASIK surgery at True Vision. And, I've talked to people who have had it before, and they all say how much it changes their lives. I'm like, all right, come on. Can it really be that good? And here I am, less than a week out from surgery. And I'm telling you, it is that good. For the first time since I've been in 4th grade, I don't have glasses or contacts to mess with. I don't have to worry about going in for, every year or two for vision checkups and for new glasses and putting hundreds of dollars into new glasses or new contacts. A contact gets ripped and I got to go replace that. The best thing about it is I wake up in the morning and I'm not fumbling around for my glasses, so I can see, check my phone, look over at my wife and see her face. Like I'm seeing 100% clearly. And it happened almost immediately after the surgery. I went in for the surgery last week and I was a little nervous. You had a laser pointed at your eye. It's nerve wracking, but the people at True Vision were so welcoming and calming and comforting, that it really took a lot of the anxiety away for me for the procedure itself. I was in and out in a little over an hour. The procedure itself actually only takes a couple of minutes. They do what they need to do to get your eyes fixed, and they get you on your way. My mom gave me a ride home. I spent the night just kind of resting, sleeping. When I woke up the next morning, seeing 100% clearly. Could drive to my follow-up appointment, 20/20 vision. Everything was great. And I still am kind of walking around pinching myself right now that I can't believe I don't have glasses or contacts anymore. And Dr. Chu was absolutely phenomenal through the process. I was nervous. He has a very soothing, calming voice. He takes you through it very easily. He puts you at ease. He makes you feel comfortable when you're on the table getting the procedure done. And it just was really helpful for me in just kind of taking away a lot of the nervousness that I had about it. He was so easygoing and was so reassuring, and just talked me through everything. It only took a few minutes to get done. And then I was out the door and on my way. A week later, I feel great. I'm seeing perfectly. I wish I would have done it 10 years ago. Go to chuvision.com and set up your consultation. Tell them the John Krasinski Show sent you. But honestly, I cannot speak highly enough about my experience there and about the results. It's just life-changing stuff.
I mentioned John Krasinski. He's one of the stars of this podcast network, along with LaVelle. A reminder of how good our lineup is. John Krasinski on the Wolves. John and I on the Viking Update Show. Former Vikings general manager Jeff Diamond on the Vikings. Roy Smalley, LaVelle, Neal, and myself on the Twins. John Millay on Preps. Randy Shaver on high school football. You can watch it on YouTube or listen to it through TalkNorth.com. Mike Grimm on the Gophers. And we always have Michael Russo and Anthony LaPanta on the Wild. Kevin Gorg on hockey. Bar Down Beauties on hockey. And we have so many shows I sometimes – and Dawn Mitchell's new show, which sometimes highlights women's sports but also delves into the Vikings and other subjects. We've got a great lineup, and that doesn't even count our outdoor podcast. Check it out. Again, if you like the show, please subscribe to your favorite podcast app. Again, it's free. It's the easiest way to listen. You know who's killed him, is Jeffers. Jeffers gave this team a great advantage when he was hitting, because when you get offense out of the catcher position, you are ahead of the game. Right now, Jeffers can't even take a decent at bat.
Which is scary because he started the season like gangbusters. Mm-hmm. We were thinking this guy's going to be an all-star this year. The way he was driving the ball all over the park, hitting home runs, just looking like a dangerous guy in the batting order. Rocco was like moving up in the order because he got really hot, and Christian Vasquez, struggled again coming out of the gate, and so Jeffers is starting to play a little bit more in that whole timeshare thing that was going on between him and Vasquez. But he has not approached anywhere close to what he was doing in April. And meanwhile, Vasquez has actually improved the second half of the season. I guess he went somewhere and worked on his swing and came back with a new approach, and he's actually been functional at the plate. So now they're back to more of an even timeshare. But this is definitely a setback for the Twins, a setback for Jeffers, because he had a chance here. He's hitting his prime years to really, do some damage as a catcher in this league. And now the question remains, can Jeffers become the everyday guy? Does he have that consistent offense in him that can keep him out on the field at least 4 times, maybe 5 times a week, if the situation's right? So that's another one to add on to this whole thing. And Jim, we keep talking about so many hitters going on. You have to wonder, what the hitting coaches are going through, trying to get these guys to find their form. What are they saying to them? What are they showing them? Are they giving them too much information? Are they not giving them enough? Or should they be leaving it up to the hitters themselves to work through it? Because I think that clicked last year at midseason when the hitters took more responsibility for preparation to face certain pitchers. Where's all that at now? And how do they factor into this the malaise here? Because the Twins on Wednesday night scored, I think, at least 5 runs for the first time in 21 games or something like that. That's just it was only the 4th time the Twins have scored more than 4 runs in their past 21 games. That's what it was. So when you talk about all the problems that are going on with the Twins right now, you have to look at how they're being coached in some ways.
Oh, yeah, and I don't have any idea whether this is the hitting coach's fault or not, but the easiest person in sports to fire is the hitting coach.
Yeah, and I've seen this so many times in baseball, too, when you get mad at the hitting coach or the pitching coach. A lot of times good hitters make hitting coaches look good. And a lot of times good pitchers make pitching coaches look good, and when those good hitters leave a club and then the hitting coach now has young, inexperienced hitters to deal with, all of a sudden they get fired because they're not producing. So it goes either way, man. It goes either way. But I just wish they had someone there. And, the game has changed so much now. Instead of having like a former player in the clubhouse talking to guys about hitting and situations and dealing with pressure, and remaining poised. A lot of those types of hitting coaches aren't in the league anymore. And you wonder if that's a void that needs to be filled.
Yeah, I think, there's the technical aspect of coaching, but I think what we see in all different sports at all different levels is personality and charisma matter a lot too. And the ability to shake somebody out of their doldrums, the ability to cheer this guy up and needle that guy. And, and I'm not saying the Twins coaches don't do that. I don't know how they operate behind the scenes. I have no idea. But I do think personality is a big thing. We're watching the Vikings have this tremendous start. And part of the reason is that players want to play for Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores.
That's a very good point. And, they're playing a team in the Packers this Sunday. They have another coach that apparently the players like playing for, and Matt LaFleur, who got Malik Willis to play out at levels we didn't think were possible.
Yeah.
So, a good coach is a great structure, a great atmosphere, means a lot. And in baseball, when you're playing every day and things start going haywire, sometimes that ball starts rolling downhill and you can't stop it, And it seems like that's what we've watched from this team for the last 6 weeks or so. They were like one of the best offensive teams in baseball from the middle of June through about mid to late August. And it's all gone upside down right now. And it's probably, multiple factors why, but it is tough to watch if you're a fan because the talent on that roster is not producing the way it should be producing.
And let's be fair. We're kind of talking about the young players struggling and the power hitters struggling and the coaches maybe struggling. Pablo and Bailey Ober have had opportunities to just go out and dominate and win a game and put the team on the right track. And they both had some really bad outings in clutch situations. Oh,
bad timing. That first game in a doubleheader when Lopez gave up 3 home runs to a guy who had 6, I believe, all year. Mm-hmm. That was a gut punch. That was a game they needed to build momentum with, and especially on a day when they played a doubleheader. That probably was the first super duper warning sign that they may be going home early and they could schedule these off-season vacations earlier than they wanted to. And Ober, I give Ober credit though; he's been pretty solid for most of the season.
Yes.
But his last outing was not good. It was not good, and that's when they needed him. I guess his velo was down a couple miles an hour, but I think at this time of year, a lot of pitchers' the velo's down. You just have to kind of fight through it. He has an advantage because he's so tall. He's got such a long release point that the ball's up on here is faster than it is for a 6'2", 6'3" guy, and he should continue to use that to his advantage.
And you're right about Pablo on Sunday. It's like I'm at the Vikings game and I'm thinking, I could see this team winning this doubleheader and surging into the playoffs, starting with Pablo dominating game 1 against a mediocre Red Sox team. And when he gave up 2-3 home-run homers the same game, I'm like, okay, maybe this team, it just isn't what I thought it was. Maybe this team just, there's something missing.
Man, you get into those doubleheader situations this late in the year, the momentum that you could generate with a sweep is immeasurable. And that was their moment. That was their time to kind of stop the skid and turn things around and start heading the right way. And they were unable to do that in that doubleheader. So that's going to be one of the more crushing ones. But it's not, we're headed here for Twins off 2 games back with 4 days left. And I just want to calm everybody down and say, it's been done before. It's been done recently. We had 2 instances in 2011 where teams who were trailing late in the season got in the playoffs. The 2011 Red Sox were leading the East on the first day of September. They got knocked out of first place. They still led the race for the wild card spot by 9 games. And they lost 20 games in September, and Tampa Bay caught them the last week, were able to make the playoffs. The Twins could do something like that.
They could. They absolutely could. And let's hit this, because if the team were winning, we'd be talking about this a lot. With the team losing, we're really not talking about it very much. Byron Buxton plays in 100 games for the first time since 2017. That is a success story. His OPS, he has a very healthy OPS. He obviously plays a great center field. Yes, he missed time, but he didn't have his entire season destroyed. So there is that. Maybe Buxton is learning how to manage his body through a season.
We can only hope. He's been through so many trips to the IL and so much time spent in the trainer's room and I know every offseason he's vowed to figure out what to do to keep himself healthy for the long haul and to be on the field as much as possible. It's been hit and miss. I still remember the one season, the off season, he went into believing I'm just going to eat as much chicken as I can during the off season.
The Wade Boggs approach.
It was like three. I think he was eating chicken like 3 times a day. It didn't work out for him. So it is trial and error. But it's unfortunate now because before it was like blunt force trauma, hitting the wall, sliding into a bag, getting hit by a pitch, colliding with someone else. Now he's starting to have knee problems and hip problems. So hopefully he's starting to find the sweet spot that keeps him on the field as much as possible.
And I do want to, LaVelle, since you mentioned we were talking briefly about the NFL earlier and the Packers and the Vikings, I just want to offer condolences on the Bears taking the wrong quarterback with the number 1 pick.
So you think they should have taken Jaden Daniels? Is that
I said that before the draft.
I have people tell me they like Daniels the most out of that group of quarterbacks, but it was like Caleb Williams was a consensus guy, and once you get that moniker consensus attached to you, it's hard to move off that spot. So it's not all him. Once again, it's like the Twins offense. There's multiple levels here. It's of line. There's a lot of things that need to be recalibrated over there to get the most out of Caleb Williams, just like some things need to be recalibrated in the Twins clubhouse to get the offense to produce as well as it can.
Man, if you're comparing the Twins offense to Caleb Williams, I feel bad for the Twins.
Well, I'm just saying. There's a couple similarities when it comes from a structural standpoint that we're seeing the results of right now. You
are right. All right. Well, best of luck to Caleb and your Bears team. I don't think they're having a very good season, but I'm pulling for you, LaVelle.
I appreciate that. That means a lot in this region.
Means a lot coming from me. Good stuff, LaVelle. Thank you. I think we're going to have Roy back to help us recap the season or talk about the playoffs. Who knows? Next week. Thanks to everyone who listens to TalkNorth.com. Thanks to everyone who listens to the Chin Music Show. And we'll talk to you soon.